One way to prove yourself in the sport of drag racing is to battle through tough conditions, to race in a place you've never been, and to compete at the highest level. And that's what we're going to see this weekend in Phoenix, Arizona for the NHRA Arizona Nationals at Firebird Motorsports Park. For the first time, the Congruity HR Pro Modified Series presented by LearnEv Plus will be racing in this desert paradise of speed outside of Phoenix, Arizona. Brian Loans and Mr. Bruno Massel in the booth. And Bruno, it's going to be a great weekend with one big missing name.
Yeah, Chris Thorne is not on the qualifying sheet, not on the entry list, I should say. And from my sources, TMZ has reported that he is getting some brand new set of turbos installed this weekend, looking to take a step forward. Sometimes you got to take a step back. And sitting out this race, got to go down a path that a lot of people haven't ventured down in quite some time.
It's going to be fantastic when that car debuts with the hair dryers on it. But first, let's go to our #1 qualifier who's got a big blower coming through the hood. Justin Bond is with Joe Costello.
The historic first time ever for the Congruity HR Pro Modified Series here at Firebird Motorsports Park. Justin Bond goes from the outside to #1 qualifier in that final qualifying session, and now a tough round matchup with Jason Lee.
Yeah, you know, the hardest part I think for us is we had an amazing race car at Gainesville. We showed up here and we had a couple of part failures at the shop before we got here, and went into qualifier number 3 and 20th spot and went from 20th to #1. And I mean, I trusted the guys to get it all done, and they did, but it was, you know, it's just hard. I'm the closest to my home is here, so I'm seeing a lot of my old, you know, bracket racing buddies are here and stuff. There's all kinds of pressure, and there we were looking like sitting ducks. So I mean, we're really happy, and yeah, we're looking forward to first round this morning, and we're loving racing over here in Phoenix.
It was a big shot. They were the first car down in that last qualifying session, and they lit up the boards with that ridiculous 565. This is Kevin Rivenbark out of Wallace, North Carolina, the Culp Lumber Company machine, and defending world champion Mike Castellano as we look at our Lucas Oil competition ladder.
Yeah, there's, you know, obviously represented the names of the matchups you see here. A lot of tough cars here in qualifying. It was just a fight just to make it into the show, and now you got to go out and race. So Ken Cartuccio, he is the #2 qualifier, leads off that other side, taking on Chip King. You see Belushi Barnett, another great matchup there. It doesn't get any easier. And as you go round by round, it gets tougher and tougher. Someone's going to have to earn it this weekend.
There were some doubters when this series came all this far away west, but more than 20 cars showed up, as you mentioned, Bruno. And this, Mike Castellano, maintained his 44 in the window. Didn't go with putting the big #1, which he could have done. And how about a 1971 Mustang Mach 1 for Rivenbark?
Great old school matchup here, though, and the win's going to go to Rivenbark. Castellano having some problems getting down the racetrack. Rivenbark goes a 577, 28 on the tree. You know, it wasn't a great run for him. I think a lot of teams are going to struggle with some of the heat they got on the track here this weekend.
We watch him come off the starting line. You can see those injector blades wide open, and he is going to have to slap the throttle when this car begins to shake the tires right about here. Front end's up. He's on the wheelie bar. Things are looking pretty good. And there you're going to see him breathe on the gas pedal as the tires shake just mildly. And that's why this guy has been a champion and a winner in everything he's ever driven with doors.
Yeah, a guy who's won in a lot of different categories, and the experience shows right here. Just never got the victory in NHRA Pro Modified, and that is a team that is hunting after it this weekend.
Jose Gonzalez and Mike Thielen. Thielen driving the only nitrous entry in the field, owned and tuned, of course, by Ricky Smith.
Yeah, he was the #1 qualifier in a first stop in Gainesville. People don't think that a nitrous car can be competitive. But watch out, because Mike Thielen and Ricky Smith are showing the other thing. Right now, the car went every which way, but straight. He had to shut it off, and so did Jose Gonzalez. 2 great reaction times, 2 subpar runs. One guy's going to advance, and they're going to have a lot of work to do, because I got a feeling they hurt something in that car.
So that was shut off very early. Yes, normally Jose takes it to the stripe. This is Chip King, a guy who competed in the very first NHRA Pro Modified race in Gainesville in 2000, and he has problems in the DreamWorks Motorsports Charger. That will give Connecticut's Ken Cartuccio a solo down the left lane.
Ken, a lot of like Rivenbark in the fact the guys compete in various different tire formations, different outlaw configurations. Wants to come and get that first Wally, as all these Pro Mod racers do. It's chasing the Holy Grail, and he's chasing it here this week. And a nice run for him, a 573 at 249, the best we've seen so far in this session, or wild round of eliminations, setting up nicely for the second round.
The reaction times have also been very solid. That was a 44 light on what was effectively a bye. This, Mike Stavrinos out of Florida, the Speed and Truck World Chevrolet Camaro, and Billy Bannock out of Mississippi. Talk about a guy who has a new tune-up in this race car, was very fast in Gainesville, and he qualified well here.
Yeah, really starting to come together. For the former top dragster racer, moved on up to the Pro Modified ranks, as a lot of guys want to do, is keep climbing that ladder, and Bandika climbing into the next round of 573. That seems to be the magic number right now, but look, good speed for him at 252.
Very nice clean run there for Billy, and he's carrying some speed past the first turnout. He will take the desert long route back to the pit area. Mason Wright coming up. The blower climbing through the hood of the blacked out Modern Racing Elite Motorsports Camaro, and Dmitry Samarukov, as tuned by Adam Klamholtz, is an international team by every definition of the word.
There are no close races at home for that team, that is for sure. That's how bad they want it. Travel halfway around the world to come race in the NHRA Pro Modified Drag Racing Series. Mason Wright, though, is going to send him home early. 0.31 on the tree, and he goes 5.74. That mid-70s seems to be the barometer right now for the conditions we're seeing out here this weekend.
Let's watch Samarukov, and again, you see a little tire. Oh, boy, yeah, it shook hard to try to turn the whole front end of that car into a jello mold. You saw the thing wiggling as he dropped the front end back onto the ground. For Mason Wright, picture perfect right down the center of the groove. J.R. Gray. Now, this is a team that has been working. They have brought on Chris Bell of Kinetic Performance, a chassis specialist, and they have made some good strides this weekend. Stan Shelton in the second Culp Lumber Company Mustang.
You know, you see this teamwork. So you get two Culp Lumber cars, you've got two Mike Janis cars. It's all about getting data, and that's what his Pro Mod is turning into. Teamwork is the dream work, and for J.R. Gray, gets the edge of the starting line. Great run on look on board there from the Culp Lumber car as he bangs through those gears. Not enough in the performance on either drivers can be happy with the numbers they see there, but J.R. Gray, he gets one more shot at it, at least one more shot here today.
Our Congruity HR onboard camera showed Shelton having to pedal this car. Listen. You can actually see the tire shake start to translate its way through the camera. And when that happened, J.R. Gray, after some races of frustration, has made his way onto the second round. In that car, he made a bet with Chris Bell. It had been going right all day in qualifying. They put him in the left lane. He says, I'll bet you $500 it goes left. And it went straight down the groove. So Bell made himself some extra money.
All right, Justin Bond, our #1 qualifier. We heard from him at the top of the show. He's got a tough competitor in Jason Lee. Jason, another guy who has made his money in the outlaw racing world, coming over here to NHRA drag racing, and had some success last season. Good drag race here. Justin Bond, just too much Brad Person, that tune-up there from that big blower sticking up underneath the hood. 5.68. He lowers the boom on everybody like he did in qualifying. He's quicker than by about 5/100ths of a second of the next quickest car.
So, yeah, Justin Bond went from the outhouse to the penthouse in qualifying and continues to look very strong here in eliminations. Lyle Barnett, the Rife Sensors by Motion Raceworks. They call this car the Beast, running out of the Scott Tidwell Motorsports category, or team, I should say. And Khaled Al-Balushi, yet another of the Bahrain 1 cars. You mentioned that the third Bahrain 1 entry, the Chris Thorne car, not here this weekend, getting retrofitted with a new power adder. Oh, man, you can see it, Bruno.
Big advantage there for Barnett. 6/100ths of a second. Yep, whole shot win. He is going to be having some fun when he gets out of that car. A guy who really brings the passion for the sport in each and every run he makes there. Big whole shot win for him. Belushi's going to be hurting himself because he made a nice clean run, was just late and let go of that button. And you can't do that and turn on many win lights here in the NHRA Pro Modified Series.
24 10,000ths at the stripe. That's all that Barnett had left as Belushi had the quicker car. He was gradually making up that 6/100ths of a second, and he ran out of drag strip just about a foot or so too soon. We watched both cars kind of try to pull the front end at almost the same part of the racetrack.
Yeah, it was a great looking drag race right there, and
wow.
Especially if you're Lyle Barnett looking over and seeing that orange nose sticking in front of the Bahrain 1 car.
That was blessed mother of acceleration. Don't fail me now as he came up on the finish line barely ahead of Khaled Al-Balushi. A rock'em sock'em round 1 brings us to matchups like Bond and Rivenbark. Gonzalez will take on Wright. It'll be Curtuccio Barnett, and it will be Gray and Bandika in round 2 here in Phoenix, Arizona. Stan Shelton did not make it, but let's take one more ride with this Congruity HR onboard camera.
It's a good look for him, you know, I mean, the car just not going down the racetrack. He's fighting. It actually goes like he knocks it into high gear a little early, trying to get the thing to accelerate or brake for that tire shake. It's a tough road to be in that view right there for him, but there'll be another stop here in a few weeks.
More action when we come back to Phoenix.
LAT Racing Oils is invested in winning with industry-leading at-track support, superior engineering, blending technology, and the World Championships to prove it. LAT is your premier choice for racing lubricants. Used by NHRA Pro Mod champions Jose Gonzalez and Chris Thorne along with their closest competitors, LAT Racing Oil continues to carry top-level racers to the winner's circle in all categories of competition. From engine oil to transmission fluid and gear oil, LAT has you covered from end to end in your race car. A nationwide dealer network means easy access to our products as well. Visit LATRacingOils.com for more.
The Lucas Oil NHRA Arizona Nationals is sponsored by Congruity. Congruity HR is your local partner for outsourced human resources. We are back here in Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, a little Wyatt Earp action there. He is on Main Street in Tombstone. The equivalent, of course, here is Firebird Motorsports Park as we begin round 2 with Jose Gonzalez and Mason Wright completing their burnouts.
So here's how they'll match up here in the second round. Bond, Rivenbark, Gonzalez, Wright, Quartuccio and Barnett, and Gray and Banica. Getting back to the guys on the track right now, Jose Gonzalez had a massive thrash back in the pit. They tore up a motor. They had to do a swap and had a tight turnaround. Do they have everything right to go ahead and beat Mason this round?
I'll tell you what, that was some pro-level announcer stuff right there. I like what you just did there. As Mason makes his way back, another car that has looked stronger this season in the early part of the year than it did last year. Justin Elks has a big part in tuning that car, and of course Steve Petty, the tuner for former champion Jose Gonzalez and the Q80 Racing team, taking a quick peek through the passenger window. Toyota side Gonzalez, E3 side for Mason Wright.
Wow, both these drivers on their mark at the start. Problems for Gonzalez right at the hit. 13 to 12 reaction times. It's not super comp. It's the modern era pro modified, and these guys are getting it. A 576 for Mason Wright at 247. Again, not putting up a big number, but this car is going rounds.
It is just wild how little room there is to operate anymore in the starting line here. And let's watch Gonzalez's car make that move to the middle. Jose hung with it as long as he could. Did not get on the center line, but was pretty darn close to it. 576.6 for Mason Wright on another clean shot down the drag strip. The whole chart artist himself, Lyle Barnett, backing up. Steve Petty also has a hand in this car, as you can see him walking to the rear of the vehicle. And that right there, rolling up here on the left-hand side of the drag strip, is Ken Quartuccio.
Yeah, battle of the centrifugal supercharged cars here that dominated over the last couple of years. A lot of people still going with that combination. Smooth and clean these cars go down the racetrack, but they've been kind of handicapped a little bit, brought back to the rest of the pack. We'll see who can get their nose out the finish line first.
Well, Barnett's got a little bit for himself there, 11 thousandths advantage, but as we get to about 1,000 feet, Quartuccio begins to drive away. 575 at 249, outruns a 581. Speed almost even, but ET goes to Quartuccio.
Yeah, he got it early, which has been a tough struggle for these pro modified cars to get the cars to 60 foot. You know, we've got really high track temps, comparable to what the air temperature is, and it's throwing a little bit of a curveball at these guys.
That 31 light so far is the worst light we have seen in the two pairs. It is just deadly out there up front. And once again, another look as Ken Quartuccio streaks to a victory, seeking again his first NHRA win. Justin Bond has won. He was a title contender last year. The JBS equipment, Bahrain 1 Chevy Camaro with its screw blower combination moves itself toward the starting line. On the opposite side will be Kevin Rivenbark.
You know, Kevin, he's decided, you know what, I'm not going to run a Camaro. I'm gonna buck the trend right here and go down a different path. And that's one of the things you love about Pro Modified is the diversity you see, the old school, new school, a lot of cool cars out here. It's like Hot Wheels on steroids.
And both cars are off the throttle early. Nobody's got a running throttle pedal or a running race car. Rivenbark silently, whisper quiet, runs 10:04 and wins the round. That was crazy.
He's thinking, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And he did.
So this is an odd one. It's almost like they both broke the blower belts. It really be the only thing you can think of that would kill these two engines. And you can see Rivenbark flapping the gas pedal, but there's nothing doing.
Yeah, that's crazy right there. Both cars in the same scenario, and Justin Bond's just thinking, come on, man, light up again one more time or give me some throttle pedal because I'm just dead in the water watching this guy limp past me for the win.
Well, Cup Lumber Company got their fair share of exposure on this one. You take your time going down there. Everybody's going to be able to read the sponsor logo. Bruno Massel, you spoke to Ken Quartuccio after he ran.
Well, Ken Quartuccio is going to advance to the semifinals on a strong 575 on a hot racetrack. How tricky is it for you guys with the track this hot and cool conditions?
It's tough. It's the track is deceiving. The track is good, but the track is hot. It's bumpy. It's old, but it's a great old track. I'll tell you what. I'm excited to race here, and I love it. And this is going to be a good race today.
Best of luck in the semis.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Operates a trucking business in Connecticut, hauling new cars around. This guy also operates a trucking business slightly south of Connecticut, Mississippi, for Billy Banica.
Slightly different accent.
The accent is very different, and that is the Alan Abbey Performance Mike Janis Superchargers Camaro of J.R. Gray.
J.R. Gray got the modern style Camaro, Banica the older style here. Both these guys, one's got a supercharged suit out the hood, the other one's a centrifugal charger, and The centrifugal charger is going to motor on through to the semifinals for Billy Banneker. Little tardy at 0.59 on the tree, but he had the combination underneath the hood to advance him to the semis.
Unfortunately for Gray, that car made another left-hand move. He had to shut it off as it headed toward the center line. But for Billy Banneker, one of the best race weekends we've seen him have in his couple of seasons of NHRA Pro Modified Drag Racing. The two trucking company operators will race on one side. Rivenbark and Wright will race on the other. When we come back to Firebird Motorsports Park, the semi-final round of the Congruity HR NHRA Pro Modified Series presented by LearnEv Plus.
LAT Racing Oils is invested in winning. With industry-leading at-track support, superior engineering, blending technology, and the World Championships to prove it, LAT is your premier choice for racing lubricants. Used by NHRA Pro Mod champions Jose Gonzalez and Chris Thorne along with their closest competitors, LAT Racing Oil continues to carry top-level racers to the winner's circle in all categories of competition. From engine oil to transmission fluid and gear oil, LAT has you covered from end to end in your race car. A nationwide dealer network means easy access to our products as well. Visit LATRacingOils.com for more.
The Spring Mountain, Arizona High School Marching Band came out and put on a great display for a packed house, a sellout crowd, if you will, here at Firebird Motorsports Park at these Lucas Oil NHRA Arizona Nationals. The kids with the sousaphones are always having the most fun back there, swinging them back and forth.
I don't even know what that is. It just sounds cool.
It is. Hey, listen, if you're going to pick one instrument, there's a sousaphone right there.
See,
That's what I'm talking about. But these
super
guys,
cool to have them out here this weekend. You know what I mean? They get a taste of what professional drag racing is about, and you know what? You kind of get that football feel, right?
Yeah.
On race day.
Adds to the show. That is Kevin Rivenbark, who is hoping for a slightly better result than 10.04 seconds. He wants the win light, though. Across the racetrack is Mason Wright. Get a look now. That Wright Rivenbark 9-5 qualifier matchup. Cartuccio and Banneker will be the second pair of the semifinals. Rivenbark's car, of any car in this class this year, has lived the lives of about 10 men. This car was built for a guy named Terry Leggett back in the day to run in a class that doesn't exist anymore called Pro Extreme. So it was built for a motor that made way more horsepower than what we got here, and it was built pretty lightweight. And it has been raced by Rivenbark, by Chip King, and of course by Terry Leggett.
Yeah, those Pro Extreme cars, they're like featherweight cars. Yes. Everything on those cars is just with titanium, big buck cars, and now he's got to throw a bunch of lead in it. It almost kills you to do so, but you know what? He needs a better performance than we had that last round. Mason Wright's been deadly consistent.
Both cars chewing a little bit off the starting line, and here goes Kevin Rivenbark seeking his first victory. He will be in his first final round, or his second, I should say, career final round. 573.8 at 251 for Kevin.
Not a whole lot wrong with that run there. Obviously found what was going on, what made it either broken blower belt or had the throttle disengaged, whatever the case may be. They got it right as both these drivers weren't too shabby off of the starting line. The edge going to Rivenbark by a couple hundredths, and that was all he needed. Smooth and true all the way down a hot racetrack to advance him to the semifinals. It looked like it just, when it set it down, and wiggled the back end a little bit and then just kept on hauling the mail.
And it looks like Wright's car might have got a piston or something there at the top end, just a little faint telltale of smoke as it got to the quarter-mile finish line. The two Pro-Charge Camaros, Cartuccio and Banneker left and right. Let's talk, though, to Kevin Rivenbark, who's with Bruno.
Kevin, you get an opportunity to not only race for a Wally, your first Wally, second final. Well, how big of a deal would it be to you actually bring home an NHRA Wally?
I've been chasing a Wally since 2013, since my first race at Indy, and should have been in the finals there, and I threw a rod out in the semifinals against Mike Janis. But to win a Wally, that you've been chasing for 10 years now or more, it'd be just unbelievable.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
You see, these guys don't remember much, but the guy remembers the exact moment 11 years ago when the car pitched a rod through the block.
Oh, trust me, he told me the whole story, both sides, and a bunch of other details we need to do along the way. But that's what you're like, you're a racer. I mean, the ones you lose are the ones you remember. The ones you win, you put the trophy on the wall and you're happy for it, but it always hurts a little bit more than the victory feels good as you win.
Well, for Banneker would be a first NHRA final. Same for Cartuccio.
Edge at the tree going to Cartuccio by 100th of a second. As Banneker got way up on that center line, a 574 for Ken as he holds it all the way down to the ground from A to B, and he advances to the final round. To be two guys looking for their first NHRA Wally.
And there it is one more time, almost, but actually did not hit the block there. It was about as close as you can get. It was the air pressure rushing out the side of the car that made the block wobble.
Yeah, that's a pro move there for Billy Manica to keep it not only from hitting the line, but to keep it from not hitting the car alongside of him. He was in full control there when it was trying not to be. He was doing everything it could to push over and get into Ken.
Billy failed to advance. Ken did advance, and Bruno spoke to him after the win light.
Ken Cartuccio moving on to the final round. I'm going to get your name right sooner or later, I promise you. But Ken, you do keep putting in these rounds. I'm going to keep getting it right. But you know what? The car's running quick and fast. It's consistent out here in the tough conditions. You might have to pick it up a little bit in the final. Do you have a little bit more in the bank without overstepping that line?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think you're just racing this track right now. You're racing every car that you race. You're trying to race them smart. This is definitely a driver's race. I'll tell you, this track it's tough, and you really got to drive it, which is a lot of fun for us. But I think we'll be in good shape for the final. I know my guys can tune it up a little bit.
Best luck in the final.
Thank you, sir.
It's always cool when we have these fresh names, at least fresh names to NHRA Pro Mod Racing fans in a final round battling for what will be a first-time win for somebody out here, and you'll see it when we come back. The finals are on tap.
We have one goal: drag strip domination. Quicker ETs, #1 qualifiers, final round victories. We earn these things for ourselves and our racers with engine management designed to work the way people actually use it at the track. Our systems are constantly updated with new functionality and free updates because progress never stops. Always learning, always improving, always striving to make the best.
The Lucas Oil NHRA Arizona Nationals is sponsored by LearnEv Plus. Experience an e-commerce training platform that educates technicians in the electric vehicle space. That Stagecoach, 2 horsepower, but all it needs are Pro Modified cars. Oh, well, Kevin Reibenbark had less than 2 horsepower when he won the second round, but he's going to need to use all of it here against Ken Cartuccio. Experience on both sides is kind of what I like about this matchup. You have experienced crew people. There's Hank out there who has a big part in tuning this race car, along with Lee White, and of course with Ken Cartuccio, an experienced crew as well.
You know, and you're going to need that experience on a hot racetrack. You look back at the numbers from the semifinals, put the reaction times in. The two were separated by thousandths of a second, so it's going to be a close matchup in terms of driver performance as well as performance underneath the hood. It's who is going to dial it in and bring it up that next level, because the finals bring out, you know, a little extra in everybody. So both drivers need to be on their game, and the tuners, they need to find every bit of horsepower they can apply to this tricky racetrack.
Cartuccio stays thin enough to flicker the ball, but is Reibenbark out first with a 32 light, and Kevin Reibenbark's going to motor away from him. Reibenbark, with his first career NHRA Pro Modified win, goes 5.74.6 to outrun the 5.82 of Cartuccio.
Getting the win with bracket-like consistency, got the edge at the starting line and ran within 100th. He ran to the semifinals. You know, the car in the other lane for Reibenbark was a car that he actually used to own, so he beat his own car to get his first victory and his first Wally.
Pretty wild stuff. Let's talk to the winner.
Woo. Kevin, you learn it's a dangerous place down here when you win your first NHRA Wally. Got water dumped on us, man. It was 10 years in the making for you. What is this moment like?
It's unreal. It hadn't set in yet. Probably on the way home it'll set in. But, I mean, off and on, we've been running NHRA. And, you know, the last few years I've tried to